Well, we are joined by Craig Nelson, 1980 grad and a 2025 Hall of Fame inductee. Craig, how does that feel?
It feels terrific, and it's good to see you again, once again, Brad.
You as well. You as well. So, how'd you find out? Did you have now, as a DePauw soccer alum? We all knew this day was going to happen at some point. You'd just written all over the record books. But how did you find out, and what was your reaction when you did find out?
Uh, I actually was on vacation and just randomly looked at my email, and and there was an email that said, "Hey, congratulations, you're in," and it was very exciting. It was great because I was with my entire family, both my kids. My son's an alumnus, so he was pretty charged about it, and so uh, it caught me by surprise, but it was a great surprise.
That is probably one of the benefits of having to wait, is that your family can process it. There's some that, they get in and their kids are 2 and 3 years old and have no idea of the magnitude of what just happened. But not just that they're old enough to process it, but you've got an alumni as a son, right?
That's right. Yeah, he's a
Yeah, and so
2009 graduate. Yeah.
that had to mean something special to him, that you're tied to the school forever now.
Yeah, he was very proud, as well as my daughter, and we have quite a few family members that are alumnus. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was a big moment, and they did have a long time to process it. It's been quite a while since I've graduated.
Did you think it may not be happening? I mean, it's
Yeah,
impossible to
I
think
put it
that
in
it
the
was
back of
this.
my mind. I mean, it
Yeah.
was it was kind of like we talked once before about the scoring record. I mean, once I never really thought about it when it was broken, because it was just part of life. But I'm
Yeah,
certainly proud that to be inducted. That's for sure.
that's awesome. Yeah, a different chapter, and sometimes they do have different memories. But take me back through how DePauw got on your radar. You're from a small town. How does DePauw wind up being a kitchen table topic for you, actually considering it as the school you're going to go to?
Well, yeah, I'm originally from born and raised in Indiana, even though I've lived most of my adult life in Texas. So DePauw was a fairly known school in my little town of Ogden Dunes, Indiana. There were quite a few people that graduated from there. My brother, he was a soccer player. He attended DePauw one year, then transferred to IU, and then became their first All-American for Jerry Yeagley and IU.
That's genetic then. It's genetic.
Yeah.
So your brother comes to DePauw for a year, goes to IU. What about either visiting him or the way he talked about DePauw made you think this is the school for me?
Well, frankly, my dad had a big influence on that, as well as my mom. They wanted me to go to a smaller school, so I limited my choices to smaller academic schools. Um, that's probably the easiest answer I can give you.
That you look at small school and strong athlete, you play multiple sports in that role. So I can't imagine soccer was the only thing on your plate in high school.
Well, no, I played basketball and football, and I actually was recruited by Tom Mott and the DePauw football team as a running back. But back in the day, they probably needed to tighten up their recruiting because they forgot to send me the letter. And so when I got on campus, I walked right past the football team down to the soccer field and asked Paige if I could come out and try out.
And did he know you outside of him coaching your brother?
No, he didn't know me at all. He knew my name once I linked my brother to him. But yeah, the first time he met was when we met each other was when I walked down that field.
So you bring up Paige, and Paige is incredibly impactful into the lives of all of us that came across him. Are there some moments? First of all, can you remember that moment when it kind of turned from this guy's walking on to try out to we got something special here? Do you remember that conversation or look in his eye?
I think No, I was just trying to perform during that period of time. So that would be a better question to Paige than to me. I tried to make a pretty big impact when I got onto the field. And I if memory serves, I jumped into the starting lineup my freshman year at the first game.
Crazy as a college coach. You spend all that time recruiting, going and watching players, and the iconic scorer in your program just walks up. So with Paige having been impactful for you, I have to imagine there are some stories, there are some moments where it went above and beyond what a coach provides for a player.
I can't imagine anybody who played underneath Paige who doesn't have some sort of life-changing uh, moment with him. He was much more than a coach. He understood tactics and how to control a game from a management point of view, but his greatest attribute was drawing the best out of people, and sometimes they can be projects. And let me assure you, when I walked in as a freshman, I was not the easiest person to coach at all. He
Why
would
not?
agree with that. We laugh about that. But I also can tell you that he is one of the few people in my life that I have drawn upon and talked upon about being who literally changed the course of my life. Yeah.
What was it about you that made it difficult to coach you?
Um, I was pretty temperamental and confident, and he chipped away at that. Um, uh, I told him when they dedicated the field, um, that he was glad to see that I came back. I was kind of a late arrival, and we were kind of chatting, and it was I was at a freshman, I was the most unlikely person to end up captaining the team for 3 years. But
That
it
is
was
awesome.
mainly because he molded and shaped me. And he had a way of making his point to me, and I just have such huge respect for him. And it allowed me to do some leadership things on campus that I wouldn't have even dreamed about. And it was through his influence.
Yeah, there's coaches that'll yell at you, and there's coaches that, like for Paige, you just didn't want to disappoint him.
Yeah,
That would hurt more than him yelling at you.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
so one of the things for anybody that knows DePauw soccer history, there was a snapshot, a moment in time, and rarely can you find that moment in a program's history or
Yeah.
in someone's career. But there's a moment in time when DePauw became a serious program in the United States, and you lived it. I've only witnessed it through history, but it was a goal against Wheaton. Can you walk us through that goal, what it meant in that moment, and I can talk a little bit about what it meant historically.
Yeah. Well, at that time, we were a rising team side. Um, People didn't. We were really becoming known in the Midwest, but no one really thought we'd been tested. And the biggest test to move on in that program was Wheaton. At the time, Wheaton had two very good players. They went on to play for the Chicago Sting, and and it was an early September game or mid-September game. It's the first major challenge, and the score was tied at 2-2. And we had two brilliant midfielders, Dick Whitney and Carl Melhope. And Dick Whitney would take all the dead balls, and it was late in the game. It was a corner kick at the old field. If you for those who are around, there was a goal that sat right at I don't know which end it would be, but there was a hill above where all the fans would stand, and it was at that
Mm-hmm.
goal. And actually, that goal, I have a picture of it. It was a header that put it in, made us go up 3-2, um, with about 15 minutes to go, and then I got another one to seal it off. I think the final was 4-2, and from at that point, we were on the map.
And not just in that not just in your time, but I think that has carried over. And that was the one that, kind of solidified DePauw and DePauw soccer as, hey, these guys can put it together. This is a program you got to be careful with.
Yeah, and we moved on. I believe we are the first side ever to go to the NCAAs.
Yeah.
And it was after that. Yeah,
Yeah.
great. It was a great moment in time.
Yeah, and it leads all that next generation to believe that it's possible and it can happen. You did talk a little bit about Paige and his mentorship and leadership and how that got you to go into other things on campus. And when you look at DePauw, there's so many clubs and organizations. And one of the great things, you can really expand yourself like you probably couldn't at a larger school. What are some of the things that, whether it was something you learned in a field, you learned from Paige, you just had it genetically in you, what are some of the organizations you were involved in and what did they mean to you?
I ended up being president of Beta at the time, and fraternities were very strong. It was a house of 70 guys. It was a house of a lot of drivers, and and I also was very involved with the union board. It allowed me to get involved and take leadership in those areas. But between being the president of a fraternity and a pretty senior position on the union board and soccer, my plate was pretty full.
Yeah.
Other than that, I didn't have much time. I did want to have
Yeah.
some fun. I mean,
No time for a social life with that kind of calendar.
well, I don't know about that.
What was your degree in?
Economics.
Okay. And what was the thought when you knew that's what you wanted to do from the moment you got there, or did you change midway? And what was the end goal?
Well, I think like a lot of kids at that age, I came there and I thought I was going to go to med school or law school because that was what the answer was. And I quickly realized that science wasn't my thing at that level. And so then I naturally my father had a business, which I didn't end up going into, but then I just pivoted to decide to go to become an econ and business major, and it served me well.
Gotcha. And then from there, grad school?
Yeah, so I had a brief tryout with the Tampa Bay Rowdies.
Iconic
And
franchise in the history of American professional soccer.
that's right. I think I wanted to try. I was over spring break too. We had a floor, so it was. I went down there and they had an open call and I got an invitation to it. And it was, it wasn't in the cards, but I do like their uniforms. They had at that time they were the best uniforms.
Mm-hmm.
They were all a bunch of English lads, and they were just really fun to be around. And so then I went back, got an MBA, and then started my career.
Gotcha. And what took you to Texas? Was it something with
So I
business?
went to work for a company called Cabot. They're a major specialty chemical company, and they moved me down to Texas early in my career. And then I went through a series of positions and jobs. Even though I should have been, the home office was Boston, but I had a global responsibility. I told, so I said I became a Texan.
Well, you remember every generation kind of goes through their different moments. So you were in vans driven by the coach and the assistant coach. I was in
Yes,
that too. After I left is when they got to be the custom coaches
of
that,
course.
and then when I got back as a coach, now we're flying down to Trinity. So it's like,
Oh,
can't
isn't
have
that
any of this
crazy?
stuff.
But I will tell you that you're missing those guys are. I know it's a high tone to do that, and that's great. But there's several of us came back for Paige's field induction, and some of the best times as a group we had were driving in the van with Paige, and we would listen to he loved those old time radio shows
Mhm.
where they have, like the mysteries from the 30s and 40s. And we would watch them. Carl Melhope and we must have spent an hour talking about all these different road trips and the things that go on. So it really built unity with the team, and it was just a ton of fun.
Yeah. So you talk about we moved down to Texas. Now you've got an interesting story with your wife. She's an IU grad,
That's
but
right.
you guys met before then. Can you talk a little bit about your relationship?
Yeah, yeah. Well, we just celebrated yesterday our 43rd wedding
Oh,
anniversary.
what a year you're having.
Yeah, and so we were high school sweethearts, and then she's a year behind me, and so the distance between Bloomington and uh, Greencastle wasn't all that far. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So when you look, you had great experiences in leadership with fraternity and clubs on campus. You got a great degree, had a great soccer career. You know, outside of the things that we've discussed, like the Wheaton goal, is there a moment at DePauw that really stands out for you that really shaped who you are?
Well, uh, there are moments. I was very fortunate to have uh, a group of guys in my fraternity. We to this day we are very close friends. We travel together. We've been friends. We were just back for our 45th um, reunion, and we had 17 in our class. We've lost one, but I believe there was 12 of us that came back. And so we've almost known each other for 50 years. So when you say there's lots of moments, it's those kinds of friendships that you develop um, that is really impactful.
Yeah.
I can't. It's hard. It would be hard to tell my DePauw story without those guys, and I think they would say the same thing.
Yeah. There's one other name. I don't remember if he was a beta, but did you play with Silas Boyle?
Oh, of course, the great goalkeeper. He
Yeah.
was our goalkeeper. No, he wasn't a beta, but he was in another house. But nobody ruled that penalty box better than Silas Boyle. He was a beast back there.
Yeah.
Um, I may have scored a lot of goals, but he kept us in a lot of games.
Were you guys together all 4 years?
Yes.
Yeah. So that was interesting because he was the first DePauw soccer player to go pro. And I remember he came back for an alumni game. And holy smokes. However, he controlled the box during your time, same thing in the alumni game. It was frightening.
Oh no, you didn't mess with him. You didn't not at all. I mean, he controlled that thing. He had a good back line as well, but make no mistake, you didn't come charging in his 6 yard box and not pay a prize.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
he
that's
he
great.
owned that. He owned that, and I just have huge respect. Thank you for bringing him up because he was when you get these awards, you, I was always the guy that put it in, but if you don't have a great squad behind you and teammates, we wouldn't be
Yeah.
talking here today.
100%. 100%. So if you look at the game today and the game back when you played, your skills translate. I mean, part of it is finishing and part of it was speed. Was
Yeah.
there, those were the elements of your game? You know, how were you as a defender? How were you as a playmaker?
Well, well, there would probably, if I would say I was great pulling back uh, on defense, I think there might be some people that might challenge that assumption. Uh,
That's
I think
awesome.
it kind of goes with in fact, I'm reasonably confident that it would be challenged voraciously. Um, but yeah, I I could distribute the ball pretty well, but I also my strength was I could play tall, I was fast, and one coach Coach Yeagley said I was very good with my back to the goal.
Yeah. Yeah. All stuff that you need in a striker. Craig, this has been great. I've enjoyed it very much. Is there anything we haven't covered? Anything that you'd like to add in?
I just wanted, just wanted to really reemphasize again that, while I'm being honored, I take this as an honor for that first side that went to the tournament. The
Yep.
Dick Whitneys of the world, the Carl Melhopes, the Silas Boyles of the world,
The Craig Nelsons. Yep. You legitimized the program, and all of us that followed in your path appreciate it. Craig Nelson, 1980 graduate, 2025 inductee into the Hall of Fame. Congrats.
Thanks, Brad.